Call the meeting to order here just after 7. I think that clock might be, well, a minute fast, maybe. At any rate, appreciate everybody being here tonight. We just thought winter was gone, not quite yet. We always start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight we have River Valley. I was looking for the wrong person back there, Paul. My apologies.
Dr. Stanis, members of the board, thanks for having us tonight. We have a group up that we're going to recognize. This is some of our Special Olympics students and their unified partners. Now, these students are involved in a lot of things, so we only have 2 kids here now. I promise we have more involved than 2 kids. But we started Special Olympics 4 years ago at River Valley. Mrs. Spearbreaker is one of our special education teachers, along with Mrs. McPherson. And this is Ms. Chelsea Lippy, our assistant principal. Paul Catterley is our other special education teacher, not here this evening. But what we have, this is Mr. Sam Webb, and then Ms. Becca Munger. They are 2 of our participants. What we have is we have our Special Olympians, and they pair with a gen ed student, and they actually compete together. So they practice together, they compete as a team, and our special education staff has just done a wonderful job at River Valley of integrating our special education students and gen ed students. So I'm very proud of them and the work that they've done, and so they are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They've already competed in bocce and basketball, and they've got track and field practices coming along today. And just a little token of our appreciation for you, a little crumble cookie. And then we've also got, this is Youth Art Month, so in your bag you've got some artwork created by our fifth grade art students. This is their first year they get to work with clay and fire it in the kiln. And so you have some artwork in your bag from our 5th grade art students at River Valley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's get this down for the next one. My board members are hungry. You can tell. Good. Right. Need to up the budget a little bit on food for them. They're hungry. Very welcome gift. All right. Thank you to River Valley and members of the board. I think tonight I'm assisted by Mr. Rick Tullis. If you come assist us in our board recognitions. Several of them tonight. So I want to begin just to let everyone know at the conclusion of our recognitions, we do take a short break. For those that would like to leave the meeting, you're more than welcome to stay at the meeting. We have a lot of agenda items, but we do understand busy schedule. So we will take a short break right after the recognitions. So the very first awards are for State Science and Engineering Fair students. And so Midway ISC will be represented by Woodgate Intermediate School and our students at the Texas Science and Engineering Fair. And tonight we're congratulating state finalists. That includes Caitlin Burrows, Autumn McAdoo, and Jayla Stewart. So let me call them out again, one at a time, if they'll come forward. So Caitlin Burrows, come forward, please. Let's give her a round of applause. Next, Miss Autumn McAdoo. Where's Autumn? And finally, Miss Jayla Stewart. Jayla. All right. Let me tell you a little bit about this, though, with the leadership from Miss Morgan Castillo. If she'd come forward, she is our teacher at Woodgate Intermediate. They entered their group project in the Central Texas Science and Engineering Fair, where they qualified to advance to state, which will be held at Texas A&M later this week. We'd like to give a special thank you, of course, to the Midway ISC Education Foundation and Enrollment for providing financial support to make this grant possible. Ms. Pagel's here, and representatives from Halmet. Y'all come forward as well. They included the establishment of the STEM Girls Science Club through a grant from the Halmet Aerospace Foundation. We are very proud of the hard work these young scientists put to earn this recognition as state finalists, their first ever science fair project, and we do wish them luck at the state competition. So thank you to the foundation, thank you to Halmet, and thank you to Ms. Castillo, Woodgate Intermediate, and these fine students. Congratulations and good luck. All right. Next are some district awards that I'm very proud to announce this evening. I'll begin with communication awards. Every year, the Texas School Public Relations Association honors outstanding contributions in education communications through their STAR Award program. The 2021 awards were recently announced at TSPRA's annual conference in February. And of course, every entry that Midway entered received a gold standard score, indicating top quality. We expect the best, and Ms. Marlin and her team always provide the best in communication. But specifically, Director of Communication Tracy Marlin won Best of Category in marketing campaigns for promoting transparency and community involvement in our rezoning process, and received the Crystal Commendation for this endeavor. She also won the Platinum Award, indicating the highest standard of excellence for leading district initiatives with communication planning. So let's, of course, give Ms. Marlin a round of applause. And we're not through. We're not through. We're coming some more in the department. Also, Communication Systems Coordinator Robert Pryor won Best of Category in Video News and Information for our very young Panther Nation News. He also received a Gold Star Award in the Video Promotional category for his video of our kids reacting to the design of Park Hill Elementary School, and a Gold Star Award in Video Training and Instructional category for our curriculum initiative called Midway Mindset. So please join me in congratulating Robert Pryor. And then finally, our newest member to the communications department. At this time, I believe was an intern at the time, and now is working with us. Multimedia specialist Katie Durham, she'll come forward, received a Gold Star Award in the writing category because she assisted me and really did an outstanding job, in her words, in our last graduation ceremony for the speech that I give at that time, Mountain, and it was excellent. And Tracy knows a lot of times I have edits, don't I, from time to time? And not for Katie. Katie did an outstanding job, and the message was perfect in the place we were in last year at graduation. So she won a Gold Star for that. So please join me in congratulating Tracy, her team, and our communication department. All right. And then finally, you might have heard about niche.com, Niche.com. It assesses thousands of public schools, rates them, determines the highest achieving school districts along with top performing elementary, middle, and high schools. And they announced these in their 2022 rankings. And so we're really proud of Midway ISD received the high praise as the number 14th district across the state of Texas with an overall grade of A+. Midway was also ranked as the #1 school district in McLennan County in the greater Waco area. So just as a reminder, there are 1,018 school districts ranked in Texas. So Midway's rank was number 14 of that, and only one other district in our county made the top 100, and that was at number 89. But additionally, we want to recognize Spring Valley Elementary, ranked as the #1 public elementary school in McLennan County in the Waco area. Is Ms. Edwards here today? Nope. Okay. With applause for Spring Valley. But also Spring Valley, South Bosque, and Woodway Elementary Schools also were among the top 10% statewide, and there are 4,416 elementary schools in Texas. So I believe principals from those schools, I don't think so. You didn't invite, Tracy didn't invite them. Okay, so moving right along, but let's give a round of applause for top 10%. Now, River Valley Intermediate School, Woodgate Intermediate School, and Midway Middle School all ranked in the top 7% of 2,223 public middle schools in Texas. And River Valley Intermediate is ranked as the #1 best public middle school in McLennan County and the Waco area. And now I've got Mr. Conoyer and Mr. Alfield and Chelsea Lippy here. So we're certainly grateful to our teachers and staff and students in our community that make a difference every day in our schools. And so let's join and celebrate those rankings from niche.com. And as I said, at this time, we're taking a short break before we begin the regular business of the board meeting.
There you go. Wesley, as usual, monthly financial report is the leadoff, sir.
Report, our fourth 6 weeks average daily attendance numbers, which, as we expected, were not very good. We had the Omicron virus, of course, was raging in the first part of this semester, so our fourth 6 weeks ADA was 7,060, well below our average so far at this point of the year, and our attendance percentage was 94.5%. So financial projection for the general fund for the 22 fiscal year on page 15 of your report. I'm sorry, page 13 of the report is incorporated in those numbers. So the projected deficit for the year is $3.6 million. Last month, I think it was about 2.66. That's the difference because of the lower ADA numbers. The good news is there is talk, it's not official yet, of an ADA hold harmless. The state may pass, or maybe even later this week. They already passed hold harmless for the first 6 weeks. That's incorporated in these numbers. But the talk is they may allow ADA hold harmless for the first 6 weeks of this year. And how they'll determine that, we don't know. So that'll go, once we know that, we can kind of project how that may affect our projection for the general. The first 6 weeks adjustment added about $300,000. So if they did it for 6 weeks, I mean, it's really hard to say, but hopefully several $100,000 to the good.
Wesley, who makes that decision? Is that NTEA or is that happening, because the legislature's not in session, so they're not making that decision.
Right.
How does that come down?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know that the House Public Education Committee sent a letter to the governor and the commissioner requesting it. Does the commissioner?
I think the commissioner certainly has rulemaking authority in this area to make this decision. So as Wesley said this week, we had been having meetings every other week. Now they're gone to once a month with the commissioner, so we're expecting some announcement be this Thursday, possibly. But I think he has the ability to make that decision. He said that, and we've asked, and I think they were just waiting to see probably about the Omicron, and the variants, and where we're going to settle in, as we are now.
Or if there's another one, you never know.
Right, I guess. So that's good news if it's at least the fourth 6 weeks. That would be helpful. Of course, couldn't go ahead and look at the whole year, so we have to wait again and see if anything happened either in the 5th or the 6th. But we'd be grateful for whatever adjustments can be made, because they would be significant. And 94.5, just to bring up Mr. Brooks's point, is in some districts it's still very, very envious to have 94.5 as a district, because other reports I received from colleagues that are even much more significantly lower. You might have seen headlines about some urban districts and things in millions. I've seen headlines about Houston ISD losing several $1 million because of the loss of students and things like that. That they're significantly looking at, programmatic changes, staff changes at this particular time. I think 20 million. I can't remember what the deficit looked like there, or more than that. So.
Yes, ma'am.
The reason we have the deficit is the new fields for the softball fields and the baseball fields.
Yes, that's
Is that all
1.1.
installed? Is it all
1.1.
done? I don't
It
think we've
is,
seen any
yes.
pictures of that. Is it possible for someone to send us some pictures?
Yes,
Point?
yes.
Oh, I need to go to again.
Looks good.
That was a good pun.
You're so good. Oh,
George just hits it out of the park. Yeah.
always a home run,
Yeah.
George.
But yes,
Okay.
please, and we'll bring some photos, or I'll email you some photos. But yes,
working well. I mean,
yes,
it's doing like it
yes,
should.
on time, and we were able to follow our schedule as we predicted, and kids are utilizing it and using it as we speak.
I did want to mention too, this afternoon, I received preliminary property values. The official preliminary values get sent out at the end of April, but we received just kind of a heads up to today from Mr. Bott at the appraisal district. And it was just based on current home prices. I think our commercial properties were not included, but our values were going 18% based on that. And so it could change quite a bit from now till we're officially certified at the end of July. But for the district, that means probably, I wouldn't be surprised if we start paying recapture again next year, which we have not had to pay the last several years. But with 18-20% increase, there's a good chance that we could see that for next year. In values, both, yes, that's correct. And it was actually lower than most other districts in our county. We were on the low end of that, so yeah.
As well, we're on the low end. I think because our area has been a little more aggressive with it, with new homes being added, maybe more than other parts of the county. But there are some as 30+%, 28%. I saw lots of districts in McLennan County. Waco was 25 or 26% projected. So quite a bit.
And the last 2 pages of our financial report, page 14, is just update on our bond budget. You can see the total favorable variance on all the projects is 4.6 million. And then if you add another 1.7 in interest income, that's a little over 6 million favorable variances so far. And the last page, page 15, is an update of our contingencies on several of our current bond projects. The high school CTE addition, Park Hill, River Valley, Chapel Park, those are all opening, of course, this summer. And so you can see where the beginning contingency amounts were and what's remaining. There's a little over 7 million remaining in all of those. So some of that could be used up, but that's possibility of some extra funds coming back to the district for future projects.
Do you recall off your top of your head what the contingency funds for the middle school?
No, I don't think that's been determined. Has it been determined?
Oh, I see, okay, okay. Right, so we could use those funds. Else, right. I was afraid it might be more go into the contingency fund than some of the other projects.
The 2020 bond budget, though, those, I guess, adjustments were made. If you look at the Midway Middle School renovation project itself, the budget, you'll see one number and you'll see projected total cost. That's when we put in,
Increased.
because of the increased costs in construction as well as just the scope of that work. So And then the same thing been done when we changed scope of the work with the ITC building. You can see those things. So all that's already been accounted for.
Which I remembered, I just was concerned, just knowing what it's gonna, we're all a little worried about what we're gonna find when we get in there.
True.
Okay, any other questions on the financial report?
Good, thank you, Wesley. On construction update, buddy.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Kazanis. I have some guests I'm going to introduce to you here in just a moment, but I want to talk about the other projects before we get to them. The CTE additions, moving along great. They knocked the holes in the wall during spring break between the existing and the new building. I think maybe you saw a picture of Susan and Pam standing on both sides of that. That was kind of neat. Things are going good. If you want to come by and look at it, you're more than welcome to. It looks great. The cloud lighting looks good. The canopies in the back look good. It's all going as planned. Same at River Valley. It's going along, going great. One thing that's not on your report that I gave you is casework is going in the science labs and the classrooms, and it's looking good. Those projects should finish well before we need them to. The ITC building is in final stages. We still haven't been able to get the air conditioning for the server room, but we met this week with Capstone, and we have come up with a plan B so that we can still move all of the technology stuff over there. Memorial Day weekend is the target date for actually moving the server and all that over there. But that building looks great. They've started on the final cleaning, and the furniture's ordered, should be here. We're hoping on time. There were some technology issues, but on lead time on some equipment, but Jesse has all that worked out. And he's had to work hard on all of our projects with lead time on technology equipment, and he's got it learned to control and has a plan in place to take care of us. Phase 2 construction at Chapel Park is going well. We moved into the new administration area and the new. We didn't move the library into the library because we're waiting on the new furniture to get here, but we got that area turned over to us. It all looks great. Everything's going as scheduled there. The front was turned over to us. The only thing we will have to add to the front is the canopies, the Avidec canopies. There's a little bit of a lead time issue on those, so they'll go in this summer. Plans are still in place to start phase 1 of the middle school immediately after school is out. And I mean immediately after school out. We'll probably be moving stuff up that Friday of graduation. And I know we'll be moving stuff that weekend because they'll start demo. Because the plan is to tear all of that administrative area out and get all of that back this summer so that we can start school in that new administrative area. So we'll only be displacing students with some portable buildings. And those plans are all in place for those to be moved in June. Barnett Construction is starting on the driveway project at Spring Valley and Hewitt Elementary. We're going to start at Spring Valley back on Angel Fire and work our way towards school. Then when we get too close to the school for comfort, we'll move around and work on that front driveway so that we can stay out of the way of kids and traffic during school and all that. Hewitt Elementary will not be done until this summer because it's going to shut the driveway down. Okay, so now let's go to Park Hill Elementary. I know that one of y'all's concerns is, are we going to finish on time? So I have here with us tonight some of the John Irwin people. Have Dylan Matthews. Dylan is the assistant site superintendent. Have Kevin Carr, who is the project manager, and I'm going to let Kevin come up and talk in a moment. and answer any questions you might have about scheduling, and he's going to tell you some of the things that we're doing to make sure that we do finish on time. And then we have John Bennett. I don't know what he does. We're always giving John a hard time, and he has a good attitude and takes it well. But one thing that's going to happen at the elementary that I wanted to make you aware of is there's been talks and planning and discussion, and we've decided to go ahead and build a sidewalk from Warren Street to the new elementary. It's a necessity. We're already getting complaints at the bus barn about, well, our kids don't have a place to walk to school, so you're going to have to pick them up on a bus. Well, we're going to build that sidewalk, so we're going to do a change order. And that sidewalk's going to cost somewhere between $135 to $155. It's the projected cost that Kevin has put together for us. So, if you don't have any questions, now I'd like to bring Kevin up. And Kevin, come on up and don't be scared because he has a big stack of papers in his hand. He's going to keep it brief. Yes.
So,
Yes.
looking at that, since that's on that's not on the Park Meadows subdivision side of the road, right? That's on the same side as the school. So how far down do we, like, the school zone crossing guards will be set up? Like, will they be able to get across the street?
We
to Park
haven't worked
Meadows?
those details out yet, but we're going to have to help them cross we're going to have to help them cross Ritchie Road and Warren
Right.
because
So we're looking at that already. How
Yes.
do we do that? Because
Yes.
I don't know what the laws are about how far down we can declare a school zone, or how that works. Yeah.
I don't even know if there has been a designated school zone yet, Mr. Witt.
Do we do that,
I
or
need
does
to
the city
check in
do
that.
that?
The city will have to do that, but I'll probably have to ask for that.
Waco. And is
Yeah,
it-
it's kind
is
of
it
right
at-
in there.
I
is it
think
at
it's
Warren?
right at Warren, isn't it? So that's
So
going to
you're-
be
so
fun
we need to do a
because,
school zone that crosses both Hewitt and Waco. I'm sure that'll be easy to get.
yes, that'll be easy to work out.
Next month,
And
next
one more
month.
too, because right across the street where the.
Is Lorena.
No, is the county.
Oh, good.
It's not, no man's land really, it's the county's.
They'll be the easiest to work with, so.
But
Sorry.
with the sidewalk, we can use crossing guards effectively to get
Okay.
the kids to school.
Executive decision to go ahead and do the sidewalks. We have the funds, so I'm glad we're doing that.
Thank you. It will pay for itself. It's just not one of those
Right.
things that you will see the money come back, but not having to have those bus routes and drivers.
And I think a lot of parents have happy, so we won't hear things from parents.
Yeah.
It's just a safety issue.
Yeah, and I checked about this, about Park Hill and the guaranteed maximum price. And just as a reminder, we're not increasing the guaranteed maximum price that you approved. We have the dollars, we have contingencies in the plan, and so that's why it's not any official action item. We certainly would
Right.
take your input. You didn't agree with it, but we do have the dollars, and we're this far along in the project. And with Barnett able to do the project, that's other, finding labor and contractors able to get that type of work done. We included in, as an owner request out of the contingency.
And if you have a question about contingency amounts, Kevin is here, he can answer those too, but we do have a healthy contingency that we haven't spent very much of at all. Kevin?
I'm assuming it goes without saying that we have the right to build that. The city of Hewitt has a variance there, and we're able to use that variance.
Yes, they did that. When they built Ritchie Road, they went ahead and got the right-of-way for that.
Okay, good.
So we're using Walker Partners to engineer it, so they'll do all that. And Dr. Kazanis has already talked with Angela about it too, so.
All right, so, yeah, I can report y'all's sidewalk is already done. We have finished that, so we will take care of stuff from our site all the way down to Warren Drive. There's also a small connection piece on the other side of the project. We'll have to tie in Park Place, so the neighborhoods will have direct access from both ways getting into the new school. So things are going well at the school, so we are going to finish our exterior masonry operations ahead of time. We've kind of ramped up our exterior masonry here in the past 30 days. So we actually think we're going to finish that about a month ahead, which really helps us when we start to pull the site together. So, Playground equipment's on its way. We're fully confident in the playground equipment coming in. We already have the AstroTurf that makes the great lawn and a lot of the site features. As Buddy reports, like one of the other projects, we are having issues with Avidec, the pre-engineered exterior canopies. We've kind of got a 3-part process in place with them where we're gonna try in April, once our mason clears the work. All your masonry on the outside of the school will be done mid-April. April 15th is our date we're trying to get to right now, and we're actually a little ahead of that schedule even today on the exterior masonry. So we're gonna hopefully with Avidec start bringing in the structure part of the canopies in April. We hope to fill in with some decking and some of the fascia materials in May. And the biggest problem they're having is just with aluminum materials, but it's some of the pre-finished soffit materials that are gonna be some of the last things that we put in, hopefully in June, on the bottom side that make your canopies. So we're inside the building right now. We got flooring going in. We're finishing in the kitchen. Our tile subcontractor start next week in the backside of the kitchen. Our painter's working in force. We're painting and texturing classrooms right now in Section 4. We've kind of made a priority and flipped our sequence in the past couple months that we're taking care of. We've put in a priority on all the classroom spaces first, and we're finishing an administrative area, which is the central core of the building when you first walk into the school. That's the library itself is going to be the last actual work area that we'll work in the school. We'll kind of finish our way out the door there. So our biggest issue really on the job right now is really with kind of our drywall subcontractor. We're working, we've got extra crews. We actually brought in an additional crew this past week, some outside resources to help supplement their work. They're working extra hours every day. They're working every Saturday. We're actually out on site working last Sunday trying to pick some things up just so we can keep that whole operation. And that's kind of key to everything is really the gypboard walls and stuff. So that whole operation just frees up the balance of the work. So.
Did they just not have the crew they thought they would have? What happened?
No, it's been a combination of, I mean, they got tied up into, so their work starts with metal studs. So we were probably 30 to 45 days behind getting them started with, we were just waiting on physical materials. They physically couldn't get the raw aluminum to produce the metal studs and the structural studs because they make up the exterior wall system. So we've been kind of behind the 8 ball from the get-go. But they're also having labor materials at the same time with just flat out personnel. I mean, so we're trying to come up with strategies of how we work an extra hour every day, how we work every Saturdays. We're bringing portions of crews on Sundays to work on critical components that we got to have. So this has probably been, I've been doing this for this will be my 30th year, and I would tell you, we've made more plans, revised plans, and revised plans than I can remember in my entire construction career. Just, okay, now what? Because it just seems like every day you think something's going really well, and then a day later, suddenly not. And things that were never a problem, taking care of or getting in the construction industry are things that are a problem nowadays. So, understand, yep. Yep, my wife's a teacher, so I understand. I see it on both sides, from a construction standpoint and then from a school standpoint. So I mean, really, your elevators are here. Our elevator's going to go in April 11th, so that's really not a material issue. It's just wait until we're at the right time. We did turn on, so the school, all the electric rooms are active, all the conditioning units are set, all the exhaust fans are set. We tied in the primary switchgear here this last week, so the school's fully powered up, and we're starting to distribute that power out to the spaces right now. Like I said, our playground equipment, our sports equipment, all that's slated to come in April, be installed. We did have one subcontractor that we had to terminate on the job for non-performance. It was our operable partition subcontractor. They just finally, after working with them for months, they finally, it just became apparent that they were not going to be able to meet any completion date. I mean, we were talking delivery dates out in September and October. So we went to the second bid subcontractor that we've had a relationship with. They've stepped right in. They've actually have done better on every milestone that's set in place with them right now. So we got a committed fabrication schedule for the material that'll wrap up in June. they'll start installations right after the 4th of July. So we feel fully confident, as long as things track there, that all the operable partition will be in place come the end of July. So we feel good about that revised plan. It's unfortunate we had to do that, but so we feel good about that. And millwork will start going into the school classrooms here for the first week of April. April 5th is our delivery. We'll start in the millwork in the music room, the millwork in the classrooms, and then we're like I said, it's really just a focus on getting the outside buttoned up, and then interior finishes right now is our big push. So
Kevin, when you say the glass operable partitions will go in July, won't that be one of the last things done?
yeah, that's one of the last things we're doing. So right after the 4th of July, we're going to put the big partition that separates the dining space and the gym. That's the first partition. And then they'll immediately go to the 2-story wing of the school, which is all classroom spaces. We'll put in the first floor glass partitions, go up to the second floor, put in those glass partitions, and then work our way over to the west side of the school in what we call Section 2. It's the little one-story academic wing of the school with all those classrooms, and that's where they'll kind of finish. And those will be finishing up the latter part of July. So
I'm going to
but yeah, that.
question everybody's wanting to know, are we going to start school there this year?
Yes, we're going to start school there this year. We need to continue to work together. We have been with Buddy and Principal Johnson, and just how we're going to work together to one, move your equipment, move your furniture into the school while we complete work, and then when we get your personnel, your teachers, your administrators, and all those folks into the school. But yeah, we feel like we have a plan in place to accommodate that right now.
And I know I'm opening myself up to some ridicule here, but I mean, but seriously.
Yeah, 100% mechanical and plumbing. No, I think.
I'm pretty sure it's not the case.
No, that's not the case.
Or I would have asked the question.
Dang it. Okay. No, I think really the only thing that, I mean, to me, it's the terrazzo floors. I know it sounds weird, but we've come up, we're meeting with them tomorrow, our sub. We came up with a revised plan where we kind of play hopscotch around the school because the way those floors are, once they start in a given area, they're there for several weeks at a time. And if we don't do it in the right hopscotch manner, we cut off access to the space. So we've actually, that's another revised plan that I was talking about that we've come up with. So we're actually putting them to the tail end of everything now so that we don't restrict any access for any subcontractor getting into a classroom or an office or an electrical room. And so, like I said, that'll be one of the last things. It's not that they've got their materials, all their aggregates, all their epoxies. The precast is in fabrication for all stairs. That's all ready to go. The biggest thing is just time to get them in at the bitter end, just because they're 2 weeks here, 3 weeks here, they're 2 weeks here. It just, you know, when you put that all heads to tail, it creates quite a lengthy thing. So that's probably one of our bigger concerns, just getting that finished up at the last minute. So.
Do you know if that's the same company that did the high school?
It is. I think it is. American Terrazzo out of the Dallas area.
Okay.
So we have every confidence they can do the work. We've got the right people engaged to get us across the finish line. It's just freeing up their work areas without kind of blocking ourselves in from being able to get into the spaces so everybody else can kind of finish their work. So
if everything goes as planned today, when do you think when will be your last day? When will it be done?
right now, right now we're showing, hopefully we've got a certificate of occupancy. We've got people in the building basically August 1st. We'll still be there. I mean, we're going to have things to touch up and finish up and punch list and things like that. So we'll be there with your personnel while you're moving in furniture
So
while
that's
people are.
when they'll move in furniture, is August 1st?
No, I think actually we've got, I need to stand back. So actually we've got plans in place starting in late June.
Oh, okay.
Where we could start furniture deliveries, because, you know, we can do some things with fixtures and equipment, getting into spaces like in the back of house in Section 3, the dining areas, start working our way into some of those initial classrooms. You can do that without, as long as we don't have people actively working in the building. So that's kind of, we got a period of, I think it's like 30 to 45 days carved out from late June into mid-July for a lot of the furniture installations, and I think that's how it's all scheduled right now. So And then if you saw pictures of the site, so all the site utilities are done. We do have one last little placement in our detention pond, the big detention pond, so we can kind of wrap up that concrete work. And then our paving guys are back in force now, getting all the concrete roads in and the last of the parking lots. No concern in there. We will start cleaning up kind of the north half of the property now once we do the last placement in the detention pond here in the next couple weeks. So we'll start to shape all that back up and then start to layer in our landscape work here in like late May or early June with some of the early irrigation stuff out front, so we can start to make the site start to become finished.
To get some security arms to go on the road, on the new road that connects to the subdivision to try to
Okay.
keep people from using
Yes.
it all the time.
Yeah, we've looked at some potential gate solutions
Gates.
down. So you've got that huge road on the east side of the property that goes from Ritchie Road all the way and connects back into Park Place, so.
And those aren't hard to get right now.
No, I think we can get our hands on that type of stuff, because we can get those kind of things here locally.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so we should be in good shape to help with that. I mean, that's kind of the update right now.
I'm thankful you guys are doing this project, because I know you guys can make it happen, so thank you. Thanks for doing the
Understand.
project.
We just
for us.
appreciate y'all working with us. I mean, we understand. I've been on a lot of projects where the schedule's a schedule and it just has to be, so.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other questions about construction? Thank you all.
This is Vic. I just wanted to say thanks to you and to Irwin Construction and Dylan, and Dr. Johnson at Park Hill, Mr. Knoyer, and everybody, and Jonathan Kazanis, the CTE edition. I can't say often enough how clear it is just how much time and care and attention and effort and collaboration went into planning all the spaces. They're all truly a work of art. It's very, very impressive. So everybody who's been part of the design team, the construction team, and Buddy, of course, is to be applauded.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to say John Irwin has been great to work with. You know, they built this building, and you can
Yeah.
see that. Kevin is a phenomenal project manager.
And clean construction sites.
Yes.
John, I still don't know what he does.
And Paul, we're gonna get to River Valley.
Yeah.
We didn't make it to River Valley
Yeah,
the
we'll
other
get out
day.
there.
We'll get out there, so be waiting.
To it too. If I remember right, yeah.
Good China Springs student.
Yeah, he's not listening, but, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
so much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Buddy, for that vote of confidence earlier. Let me know how much I owe you.
Your new space, Jesse.
Thank you, guys, for the opportunity to give you your technology update today. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Here's the items we're going to present. I'll get right into it. Of course, no Midway technology presentation will be complete without a one-to-one device initiative update. We're currently supporting over 9,400 iPads. We're running over 500 unique educational applications on them for a total of over 250,000 managed application updates on those iPads. We've been real pleased with the durability and the performance of this round, if you will, of iPads. We're on our second year of them. We've had really good success with them. Performance has been good. Breakage has been down this year, down from about 3% to 1.7% needing repairs. So we've been real happy with that. So here we have a summary of our work orders since the start of the school year. One thing that's compelling is we've seen a 61% increase in work orders this period versus the same time period last year. It's about 1,200 more work orders in the same frame of time. As you might expect, the campuses that had the construction that they've taken on and the extra classrooms, like Woodgate and Castleman Creek, have contributed the most to that additional number of work orders. The most problematic device type is printers, which is also compelling when you consider we have about 10 times as many iPads. It's a seed for a future conversation about improving operational efficiencies.
Printers are getting overworked and there aren't enough. So that's the problem.
What I'm saying is, for every day of the week, we would probably over two printer repairs if you divided that over the year. And there's less printers than there are any other device type. And we're 1-to-1 iPad, so could make the case, do we really need to print so much? Anyway,
Oh, I see. That's where you're
Yeah.
going.
yep.
Break. Compared to an
It's a fact.
So green.
So E-rate funding, that's federal money we leverage each year to discount our internet connections, our internal fibers, and our network equipment. E-rate funding is based on our percent economically disadvantaged. As of our last snapshot, Midway is at 33% economically disadvantaged, lands us a 50% discount on all of our approved items. This summer, we'll be moving to a 10 gig internet connection. We'll be moving our campus fibers from the middle school to our new facility. And then the items that these are all items that we'd otherwise would have to pay for full price. So it's definitely worth the extra hoops to jump through to get the 50% discount and obtain those federal funds to help offset those costs and maximize our tax dollars for technology products. We are unfortunately not immune to the supply chain issues that have been plaguing the rest of the world. Some key components that we need to run our new facilities have been seriously delayed. Network switches that we ordered in August of last year now have an ETA of June 30th, and we learned last Friday that our wireless access points have been delayed until November. Now, keep in mind, we ordered these items so far in advance that my initial concern was where were we going to store the boxes because we didn't have a warehouse yet. And now it seems that we'll be lucky to get the new wireless this year. Yes, new construction, and we're going to refresh the existing buildings. But we will be okay. Our friends at Northwest ISD are in the middle of a network refresh, and I have agreed to loan us some of the network switches that we'll need to get up and running. We're also exploring some other opportunities with some refresh companies to fill in the gaps as needed to get equipment in those schools. So we're going to be fine. Also, as Buddy mentioned, we've got a delay on the crack units for the new facility, but we've got a good plan B in place that should cover that. And we've seen some delays in furniture, but we're still looking at mid to late April for furniture. That's for the ITC. If you remember, 2 years ago, we adopted a data privacy agreement, and that's to set standards for the way our data would be handled by our vendors and to provide protections to Midway should the data be compromised in any way. There's now a national agreement we'd like to begin with vendors that has more concise language, and it's recognized by vendors from across all states. You know, our software don't all come from Texas. So this has got language in it that they're familiar with when they receive it from us and should lead to a higher adoption rate. The national agreement allows individual states to add their own Exhibit G, which Texas has done, which adds back the financial indemnity clause that was absent in the national agreement. So this is the piece that holds vendors financially accountable for any costs incurred to the school district due to vendor negligence. So it's a good piece to have in there. So the TX NDPA agreement has been included in the consent agenda tonight for consideration. Since the last time I reported to you guys, we've added a third location for our nightly backup routine. We partnered with Backblaze to store a copy of our critical data in their secure data center. These backups are immutable, meaning that once they're written, they cannot be modified, even by ransomware. Also, last month, we allowed Masonry Cybersecurity to conduct an internal security assessment of our network. That's where we give them access to our internal network, and we allow them to run a variety of common hacker tools looking for vulnerabilities in our systems. The results of that scan helped us identify several software vulnerabilities that we have since patched and or have scheduled for decommissioning. Yes, it's very helpful for us to use those. We do a monthly external assessment every month, and then we do the internal annually. Of course, we know no network is completely secure that has an internet connection, but Masonry's summary of our security posture was very favorable, stating that our comprehensive approach sets us apart from our peer districts. So we're happy to hear that from Masonry.
look at other sort of social factors too, things like phishing, even personal devices brought on campus. Is that part of the scope?
They would not consider phishing in that, no. They have a device that runs all the common tools that you would run to scan a network, look at patch levels on servers, look at open ports, basically giving them student access, if you will, with commonly available hacker tools. And then they provide us a list of everything they were able to find. And hopefully each year, and what we've seen is that list gets shorter and shorter.
Yeah, so we've still got ongoing work with staff about common to look for in emails, links not to go on.
Yeah, we do.
It's kind of the biggest, usually the biggest
Yeah, so
target.
as you know, our number one firewall, if you will, is the human firewall, right? So we do ongoing training with staff, and matter of fact, we're about to kick off another, don't tell anyone, another phishing campaign where we send out emails purporting to have free things in them.
Tell them that here publicly, right?
Well, we'll see how good they are. And then we get reports to see how phish-prone they are. So it's constantly something we're working on, yes, sir. Email security is the next thing. This time last year, we introduced a new email security appliance. Since that time, our email volume has doubled. Of those 20 million incoming messages, our appliance has blocked 15 million of them as spam or virus. With the new appliance, we also have visibility into the specific types of threats that are being blocked. As you know, phishing attacks are the most common way bad guys try to gain access to our systems. This appliance shows that to be true, with 300,000 phishing attempts being blocked already this school year. So we're thrilled to have this level of advanced threat protection for our email system. Back in 2019, as part of the Facilities Study Committee, we presented a short list of needs in an effort to better serve Midway's growing technologies. What I'd like to show you is some recent pictures of the ITC, Ms. Vick, and show you how this new facility is checking all those boxes. So that little red button right there, that's the most expensive button I hope to never have to press. That's the gaseous fire suppression abort button that's located in our new server room that is now protected by a Novak fire suppression system. If you've ever had to break down 24 pallets of iPads in a parking lot, you'd know why we are so excited to have this overhead door, and it's also an adjustable lift. This is going to allow us to take deliveries of pallets directly from any size truck and roll them directly into our new climate-controlled warehouse. It is.
That was part of the original building design when a grocery store,
That's the,
some modifications, right?
that is the original loading dock for the grocery store.
What a bonus.
It has a new door and a new lift.
History of the building.
Yes.
Of course, we know it's important for this facility to be centrally located. It is, in fact, centrally located on 109 Panther Way. If you drive by sometime at night, you'll see that the Midway logo out front is illuminated and looks really nice. Our new facility includes a training room capable of seating 220 staff and can be configured in 1, 2, or 3 smaller rooms. The room has reinforced sound and video capabilities, and movable partitions have writable surfaces to facilitate all varieties of staff training. Also, it's directly adjacent to Rudy's Kitchen. So that's the kitchen that serves the Horizon students. So we have the capability of serving hot meals at training. Very cool. And here, I just want to show you a couple of before and after shots of the building. This picture was taken in July of last year as we started demolition of the building. And this picture is taken from roughly the same angle, and that shows our new office space and flex space. Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's since cleaned, and it looks nicer than that now. All right, this shot is from the front of the building, again, back in July when it was EMSI. And now, looks like that. So we made it look really nice on the outside as well. Yeah. And here, look ahead to some summer projects we'll tackle. Since this slide, we received word of the shipping delays of wireless. So wireless will no longer be a summer project. It will now be a Christmas project. We plan to move all of our data center equipment over Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be fully switched over to new ITC on May 31st. We'll move all campus fibers to the ITC in the month of June, and we'll go live on the new circuits no later than July 1st. That's when our new contract starts. And finally, we'll be busy installing all the technology items like phones and computers, printers and switches and whatnot at all the new construction, and as well as moving the classrooms around for all the campuses that had movement. So as you can see, we have plenty to keep us busy. Thanks again for the opportunity to be the update. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
This facility is as great and as flexible as, have we thought about future opportunities for public use, or we do some of our other, you know, the PAC and some other things?
One thought we had, our new ITC is an emergency operations center for the community. So a big generator in the back, we have the ability to, and we have wired generator-backed plugs in the training room. So in the case of an emergency, we would theoretically have AC, power, or internet, everything you would need, computers, that to be a point of controlling a situation should it arise in an emergency.
Doesn't the county control, that's a emergency response system, that's a county function, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But another function we've talked about with the growth of the Horizons program and looking at the students that will be served, they're also looking at other after hours, even if it's for our current students, or we're collaborations with MCCC, possibly if there's ability to offer courses evenings as well. We have that ability to do that, or if it helps students, maybe they need come in at noon and start taking classes, and then have college classes later in the day, things like that. I mean, it could be used for that, and then possibly if they're enrolled through MCC or higher ed institution, then they could use that as well. So we're kind of exploring that and seeing the demand. Good idea. Kind of have a possibility. I've always thought a satellite site, if you will, for higher education in this part of town. The distance of MCC or TSTC, things like that are quite far for some of our people. So would be another use for it, but certainly like any public space for meetings, yeah. I mean, the center area is certainly a nice meeting space, meeting area, neighborhood associations or other community type groups. Through our normal processes that we currently have.
With all the emphasis in this last legislative session about connectivity, especially to rural areas, and thinking about some of our schools that are in rural areas, is there anything there that we're going to be able to leverage?
Yeah. There's been a lot of discussion about broadband projects that are funded federally to get broadband out to areas that don't currently have it. So for us, that'd be Speakleville, and yeah, it's coming down from a federal level with funding. Right now, what they've offered us is a Cte Act program that we put out to the community. Some people can advantage of it, where the federal government would pay for your connection if you were in an area that didn't have it. And it was a line of sight wireless in Speakleville. But until you get wires in the ground, you're limited to satellite or point-to-point wireless.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't have the infrastructure there yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
I forgot what our stat was, but we have pretty good coverage for those that felt when we did surveying during the pandemic.
We did. We're lucky in that I think it was 97% of our families live in an area that has access to broadband.
I was out at the Park Hill site last week. Am I right that we're pulling fiber from Castleman Creek through
Yes, sir.
to Park Hill to light that up?
Yes, sir. That should be started the first week in April.
When you get the boxes?
Yeah.
Phenomenal space.
It's really nice.
I'm looking forward to hearing how it served Horizons campus as well. I'm so excited that y'all are getting a kitchen. I can't see straight.
If the power goes down, we also have a shower, a washer, a dryer.
Yeah, right, there you go.
Camp out.
Yeah.
And what is the timing for them to move in as well? Will that happen the same time our technology staff does?
We are shooting for the start of school, August, just like the other campuses.
So over the summer.
Yeah. Mhm.
You're doing a lot lot of work right now and doing a good job at
Phenomenal job.
everything with construction and remodels and your own department moving and all the changes.
We're excited to be past the chaos of the summer and have our new facilities online and be moved into our new wing. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Outstanding report. Career and technical education update.
Your favorite presentation of the night. My favorite of the night. How about that? My favorite of the night. I'll own it. Thank you so much for always giving me the opportunity to come and let you know how we're doing in our CTE programming. I am normally doing this presentation in February, but February board meeting was quite packed, so I'm going to let you know how we've been doing since last February. Some highlights of what's going on. Obviously, the new construction, the items in red there are the real biggies this year. The new construction has taken a lot of focus and attention this year, but also planning for the split to our 2 middle school campuses. And we've done a lot of work, put a lot of effort in working with our principals and instructional leaders in making plans for that. The other really big thing that is going to take some attention this year is completing our comprehensive local needs assessment. We do that every other year in order to apply for our federal Perkins money. And that was implemented 2 years ago. And so this spring we will need to complete that in order to be able to apply for Perkins federal grant money. Late last spring, I put together a Cte Excellence Team. I started pretty small with a steering committee, bringing in a couple of teachers from each of our 5 program areas in Cte. We spent some time doing some work that I'll talk through just a moment, but really the idea for the Excellence Team is for this to sort of be a start for a bigger advisory committee that will guide our Cte programming each year and years to come. We look at things like student success and our Perkins indicators that are used for federal accountability, but also looking locally at our local programming, measures that maybe we determine for success as well, considering CCMR, looking at our budgeting and spending practices and things like that. So the team met several times late last spring and over the summer. What I had them do is go through a modified MOA visit. And an MOA is Methods of Administration. If we were audited by TEA and they came in and did an MOA visit with us, they'd be looking at the criteria listed here on your screen. Look at how we recruit and retain teachers, how our students perform based on the federal Perkins indicators, which another slide will address. They look at how we advise into our programs, enrollment numbers, how we serve special populations, things like that. So had the team go through a sort of modified MOA visit and look at our programs through that lens. We had several areas where we felt we were doing well, our GLOWs. One of those I want to highlight is the 8th grade guidance. I think that is completely because of attributed to our Panther Pathways class at the middle school level. So Panther Pathways allows our students to really understand graduation plans, career connections to what they're doing in school and things like that, and our 8th graders really own that. We have been very creative in how we support personnel in representing CTE in special education ARD meetings. We meet and train each year and sort of review our programming so that when students in special education are meeting to select courses and to talk about what they want to do after high school, we find ways that our CTE programming can support those efforts. On the GROWS side, just looking through that MOA lens, we feel like there are a couple of areas that we want to focus on. There's another slide later on that really highlights our overall program focuses and areas that we work on, priorities that we have. But one of our big ones is industry-based certifications, the IBCs that are listed there. We really want our advisory committee to be robust and very active, and that's a big focus for us as well. So program enrollment is one of the success indicators that we look at, and I like for us to look at this slide particularly each year because it shows how our CTE courses that are offered and where our students are taking courses, how those are aligned to the state graduation endorsements. So as a reminder, there are 5 endorsements. One is an arts and humanities endorsement. One is a multidisciplinary endorsement that kind of creatively packages some things in a general way. But three of the endorsements are very specific to CTE. And those are the business and industry, what you see in green there, are career clusters that align to that, public service, what you see in red there, and STEM, what's in blue. What I like about this is it shows, this is rank on student enrollment. So when you look, human services career cluster is our top enrolled cluster at this point. This is based on 2020 enrollment data. And you can see how we have kind of a nice spread. We have business and industry spread throughout, we have public service spread throughout, and STEM. And this does change every year. When we open a new program in an area, for example, it gains a lot of attention and student enrollment might go up. One thing I do want to say is that I recently, in preparation for our local needs assessment, have been comparing our enrollment to labor market data aligned to in-demand and high-wage labor market fields in the Heart of Texas workforce development area, and all of those programs align to careers that are in demand and high wage in the Heart of Texas area. So I think that's really wonderful that our students are taking classes that are going to prepare them for our workforce. And then just a little statistic there that just really sort of captures our student interest in CTE. In the 2020-2021 school year, in grades 7 through 12, 89% of our students were enrolled in at least one CTE course. And while that is really great and super, what we like to do is look for students who are taking more than one, specifically more than one class that's a concentration or concentrated program of study. And so this slide represents those very students. A CTE learner is defined by Perkins and by the state of Texas as a student who takes 2 or more courses, CTE courses, in a concentrated area. So the state gathers this data for our Perkins application and for our local needs assessment to compare how CTE learners in Midway ISD compare to CTE learners across the state of Texas. And they look very specifically at these indicators of success because research shows that students who are taking CTE courses, especially a concentration of CTE courses, are going to have higher graduation rates, lower dropout rates. They're going to perform better academically. So these measures look at graduation rate. These measures look at STAR performance on the end of course exams at the high school level. These measures look at program placement outside of high school, tracking students once they graduate on their enrollment in post-secondary, their workforce, entry into workforce, and enrollment or enlistment in military. One thing on the non-traditional program concentration, I have a double asterisk there. We actually improved 15%. We used to be behind the state in the area, and we have improved 15% to now be higher than the state, which I think is really exciting. I don't think we've changed much in our efforts. We've attempted to address that for years and years, and it's just finally catching up, and I think that's a great thing. You will see our one area in red there of industry-based certifications. I mentioned that is a program priority for us. This data does reflect spring of 2020, so these were our graduates that went home at spring break and never came back. The certifications that we do offer in-house, we typically offer at the end of the year, and so they missed out on that opportunity that year. We did have some students who were able to certify at Guama prior to spring break of that year, and that's our 1%. But we are really putting some effort and focus on how we can identify appropriate certifications aligned to the programs of study that we have in-house. We've got for example, 244 students that are requesting floral design certification level 1. And so we are working on that this spring. We've got students at Guama and Guaca that will be certifying in welding and in CNA. We have 2 teachers working with classes right now on Excel and Word certification. We're exploring Adobe certification in our graphic design AV classes, and we are looking at some certifications and working with Jesse on recommendations for our computer science students.
Do you recall what the percentage was in 2019 graduates?
4%. Okay. So but the
Never
state,
been high,
the
but it went
state
down.
at that time was, our gap was not quite as large. We had a smaller gap. So the state went up and we have gone down.
Identifying good certification options, or is it really just the students aren't seeking to do that yet?
A lot of our students, when our teachers survey them, aren't really interested, but we can't rest solely on that and let that be acceptable because they don't know what they don't know. Really, a lot of it is just priority. We've put a lot of focus on preparing students on the TSI and towards college readiness. Many of our students, I say this each year, when you ask them, are you going straight into the workforce after high school or do you intend to go to college? Many of them indicate they intend to go directly to college. We know data-wise that they don't. But when they say that's their intent, that's sort of what we put our focus and work toward. But our teachers, being a part of this excellent team and seeing this data, it's really opened their eyes and they are embracing that there's more that they can do in the classroom to get students ready so that if they want to utilize a certification as they are going to college or maybe having a job after high school, if they end up not going to college right away, that it really is valuable. So I think we're going to see some great improvements here.
Is headed our way. I don't know, I haven't really had a chance to brief you guys on it yet, with the industrial training center coming out to the industrial park not very far from the high school. And it's going to have several different layers to it, an upskilling piece for current adults, also certified training for adults, corporate training for the industry partners in the industrial park, but also a dual credit and certification, avenue as well. And that programming hasn't been, it's not going to replace WAMA or anything like that, but there are so many other pathways that are not, that we could still offer that way. So as we're getting funding from the city and the county right now and starting the planning phase. TSTC's already ponied up a bunch of money and resources to make it happen. And we're doing a pilot program using one of Region 12's buildings over there, the old exchange building, or it was maybe a FedEx building or something over there. TSTC's leasing out the back half of that to start a cohort of adults upskilling and kind of working through some of that. So there's going to be a great opportunity, I think, to tie into what you guys are doing and giving our kids some good opportunities going forward. Big part of that was we've always had TTC in our community, and they're a great asset, but they're on the wrong side of town, right? And I'm not just saying from a Midway standpoint, but their product are students for industry, and most of the industry is centered right here or over there in the industrial district. So the explanation is it's just like any business. You want to be close to your employee or close to your customers. So TSTC, get closer over here and let's get.
If your child was interested in doing something out there while they were in school, just the drive time and it's just
and
almost
by 35
impossible.
being torn up.
Yeah, you don't want them. Yeah, so.
A nightmare. So anyway, I know you've got a meeting coming up on this pretty soon, but yep. Great.
Weren't you also going to focus on trying to work with businesses more, get interns?
That's part, yes, and that's part of the work of the advisory committee. Each of the CTE teachers that is on the steering committee is going to be seeking out a business partner to join the committee so that we can try to have business partners that represent each of our program areas as well.
Work-based learning opportunities?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And we have so many, our teachers already work with business partners,
Right.
just it's very individualized and organic at their level and not program, looking collectively at the program. And I'm glad that you mentioned funding. One of the things that the state has done is put money toward helping schools pay for industry certifications. It's very expensive to offer industry certifications, and they implemented a reimbursement approach to that. And so we actually can put some funds toward that with the help of the state. So that's really great. So just taking all of these efforts and thoughts and lenses into consideration, our excellence team sort of identified program priorities, not really in any particular order. Some of these are ongoing, and some really want to give a concerted focus to. I've already talked about the IBCs, looking with expand of our programs in a new wing and moving to 2 middle schools. Of course, budgeting is going to be very strategic. We're going to have to think about how to support our programs and looking at teacher retention, teacher salaries, and making sure we're able to get be competitive to get top quality teachers in-house, and those work-based learning opportunities, getting our kids out into the community. Those are going to be some of the big ones. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight an effort that our teachers worked on last summer and have started sort of pilot in some of our CTE classes this year on really focusing on the employability skills that CTE students are working on alongside their technical skills and the academic skills that are already reinforced. They used the portrait of a graduate as a base, but they also looked at learning standards related to character traits that are offered in the state of Texas. They took those at grade level appropriate areas and aligned them to their own CTE course learning standards, their TEKS, and found where there was alignment. And a couple of our teachers worked on developing an employability rubric that they are actually using as an assessment in their CTE classes each 6 weeks. They're sort of piloting it, and we're going to regroup this summer and sort of implement this hopefully across the board in CTE. But they take some of those employability and soft skills, being in class on time, not being on your cell phone, working collaboratively in groups, and they rate students over the course of a 6 weeks time frame on their employability skill attainment and give them an assessment grade for that at the end. And it's been very well received. The students have really appreciated it in the classroom. It's some specific feedback related to something really haven't gotten feedback on before other than just adhering to school rules. So it's been quite nice. Yeah, so more to come on that hopefully. And just kind of leave this as a parting slide of student voices and some things they say about our programs, but really wanted to just open it up to any questions that you might have. I know.
I know you've all been working very hard. Yeah, oh my gosh.
It's exciting. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Know what's going on within special populations, not just special education. What does special populations consist of? Section 504, dyslexia, and special education. Within Section 504, we serve approximately 913 students. These are kiddos who have disabilities, but may not have cognitive needs or academic needs, but they still need accommodations and supports. I can tell you, we have seen a lethal peanut allergy, and we had to put up notices, had to make sure items that came into the classroom were peanut-free. We had to talk to parents, but that 504 plan ensured that any teacher that the student encountered along the way was going to know that this peanut allergy could actually put this child in the hospital. So it's not just about the academic piece, it's about the access piece. Our school counselors, our 504 coordinators, they do an excellent job working with food services, working with different departments, working with classroom teachers to make sure that these children are served. And that's 913 kids. And I felt like they needed, their program needed to be, you needed to know that that program existed as well. Within dyslexia, that's typically been, most of you know that dyslexia is a program geared toward reading disabilities, writing disabilities, spelling. Dyslexia is migrating more into the special education realm. Right now, there is a single pathway of identification for dyslexia, and that is just through special education. That is new. Midway was ready. We knew it was coming down the pike. We made adjustments to make sure that our kids were taken care of and that we'd have adequate staff to do the assessment pieces. Changes are coming again, and we're staying on top of that. We are monitoring where our numbers are, what programs are, what our teachers are doing. We're striving for national certification for all of our dyslexia teachers. We want the best teachers to serve our students, and trying to set that standard is what we're trying to do this school year. And moving into next school year, as we move, if either way, if we stay where we are, if we move into special education,
we still want our teachers to have the best training and opportunities as possible. And if you notice, right now, we have 232 of our dyslexia students served in Section 504. We have 79 of our dyslexia students served in special education. It is not the label, it is what does the student need. And that is pretty much what we are striving for. What does the student need? Special education, of course, is the big kahuna. It's our big program. We serve 1,187 students. 65% of those students are in mainstream classes, co-teach classes, resource classes. They're mixing it up all day long with general education students. 15% are speech only, articulation, expressive receptive language, speech only, general education classes. 14% is our self-contained populations. Those kiddos may need more intensive, intentional services, and that's why we have those programs. 4% is our early childhood, and 2% is other, which could be a regional day school kiddo, could be a walk-in speech kiddo, it could be other. That doesn't quite fit in one of our neat little slots. But we have a continuum of services in Midway, and what we try to do is make sure that students get what they need. We straddle that line of helping and pushing all the time because we want to push our kids towards excellence and high expectations. No, no. Yes. And our special ed numbers, if you look at where we are, we're pushing 14% in special education. It's a little high. We're watching it, numbers. But at the same time, Midway is just a darn good school district, and people want to come here. And we're recognized for our academic excellence, both in general education and special education. And I've had parents tell me when they moved here, they researched the area, this was the district to come to. And we get that input pretty often. And we have kiddos transferred to us from other school districts. Our teachers do a really nice job. I mean, they work hard to take care of kiddos, and it shows. And I think that's one of the reasons our numbers are growing the way that they are.
This is kind of maybe I'll ask this question, everybody will laugh at me, but do we provide any special education, speech, dyslexia services to students that maybe live in our area but are not enrolled with us?
Yes.
Students,
Yes.
is that correct?
We provide,
how does that work?
So we provide speech, behavior consultation, and just overall consultation for private schools and our home school students. So for example,
So those are not included in these numbers?
no.
Okay.
And what those kiddos are, we are obligated to serve students who aren't necessarily our enrolled students, but they're in our district. So they are taxpayers in this district. And so we do go to Ballard, Live Oak, all over, and evaluate if they need an evaluation or if they need behavior consultation. We also go to ACL. We also have littles, or depending on the school age, come up for speech therapy. So we definitely provide those services to our taxpayers.
Thanks.
Your, Wesley, are we able to put them in our census as far as the way the state, ADA basis?
We do not. We do not draw ADA for them.
Number for us of how many students that are taxpayers that aren't going to one of our schools that we service?
Because we do track that, because let's say we do an evaluation this school year, we have to offer that evaluation in 3 years as well. Now, if they tell us, hey, we don't want it, that's fine, but we are obligated to offer.
Follow up and offer.
And yes, I can get you those.
That would be interesting to see how many people outside of.
I mean, it's not an overwhelmingly large number, but it does, we do stay busy.
It would be good to know the scope of that, to figure out, hey, do we need to push someone to say maybe the state should look at
Reimbursement,
how
yeah,
they
if we
fund
don't
us
get
for that?
reimbursement.
Because it's an important resource that we provide. to the families of our district.
It is a resource we provide,
Yeah.
but we also, I mean, they are paying tax.
Right.
I mean, they're taxpayers in
Yeah,
our
but
district.
as
Yeah, no, I
we've seen
get
with
that. I
Wesley, the
get that.
taxes go back and forth. That's not how this really works
Well, that's
for
their
us.
argument, and, you know, and that's, I mean, we want to support kids.
No, yes,
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
we're not going to
They are
argue over.
taxpayers.
More
over
about
I'm
how
just
do we get paid
curious.
for it, and how do we not
And-
provide the service?
And making sure we
Right.
can provide good service, which is,
And
if we need
don't
additional
provide
people, we gotta be able
all
to pay them.
services. I mean, we provide speech therapy, so we don't provide every service that we have. We narrow it down.
Okay, fair.
And we meet with all the parents. We offer to meet with all the parents once a year to determine what service we want to provide.
Numbers question. How do we compare in that almost 14% to other districts of the county? You know that by chance?
We're a little high,
Right.
but we're working on it.
And how much has that grown over the last few years, do you know?
We were probably sitting at, last year, we were probably sitting at 12, 13%, and now we're pushing 14. So our growth is steady.
As I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not just because parents are sending their students here, but in the last couple of years, we've identified more
We
students.
have, yes, we have.
Yeah.
So if you remember, back in 2018, the Houston Chronicle put out an article where the state of Texas wasn't necessarily identifying. Texas had put a cap on identification, that 8.25, something along that vein. And so at that point, Texas, we imploded with special education assessments. The feds came in, talked to TEA. We're still under scrutiny. We're still working through that plan. So it wasn't just Midway that felt
Right.
that increase. It was across the state.
Right.
So, but with that being said, those numbers that came out, the national averages, they include, most states have dyslexia in their special education population.
see.
That's one of the things that Texas is being hammered for, is that we don't have dyslexia in special education. It's a general ed program. And that is one of the things that federally, they're looking at Texas to say, hey, everybody else is doing it this way, why aren't you?
That doesn't make them right.
That's true. And you know, we're gonna do what we wanna do.
Thank you.
So I wanted to let you know, as a board, sharing our similarities, celebrating our differences, I felt like you needed to know that within Midway ISD, with our buddies, our partners, our Special Olympics, with all the events and opportunities we have in Midway, we're incredibly grateful for the support that we get from across the district, where we are still, despite our differences, are included and a part of. And that stems from the top down. And needed to let you know that we're grateful for the support that we receive from this board and our superintendent. I wanted to start out with the littles, our babies. We do identify 0 to 3. We work collaboratively with ECI, the Heart of Texas Region MHMR. Students who are born with perhaps a visual impairment, a hearing impairment, our teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing, our visual teacher, our orientation and mobility specialists will work collaboratively for 0 to 2. Once kids hit or start approaching their 3rd birthday, school services kick in at 3. At that point, we pull together a multidisciplinary team. OTs, PTs, speech, school psychologists. We pull all the specialists together for an assessment. We work with the family, we work with ECI to try and determine eligibility and placement. We've done 32 evaluations to date, and we still have kiddos coming through. We're really proud of the work that we do with our littles. We are serving 50 students. Now, this is not pre-K. This is early childhood special education. This entire program is completely modified. We serve 50 students on 3 campuses. Now we have a 3-year-old program, thanks to you guys. Our 3-year-olds not only will receive intervention, but they will also receive opportunities for inclusion. And that's a step forward for our district. And that's that's thanks to you, and we're excited about that. Early intervention is key intervention. We're real excited about Special Olympics and our Texas Unified Sports. So excited to see our kiddos here tonight. We're really proud of the work that goes into Special Olympics. Brad Shelton, Julie Bazinski, those folks work tirelessly to support our kids. They went to Bee Cave in this picture. Sorry, you can't see it. It's the one where they're all in the glass windows. They were so excited. They participated in a powerlifting event. They came back. They were proud. They said they came back with hardware. Just so y'all know, that's medals and the badges. So they were real excited, and we're real proud to be able to offer these opportunities. We're getting to travel. We're getting revved up for a track meet. We have a schedule. We're serving approximately 57 special education students. That's about 114 kids when you partner and those sorts of things. We have 5 sports. So we have bocce, bowling, basketball, track. What's the 5th one? Weightlifting. Yeah. And so we're really proud of it. We're at 6 campuses right now, and we only foresee that. We only anticipate to grow. Our Empower program continues to be a great support for our 18 to 22. We are working collaboratively with Robinson ISD to try and develop a shared experience for transition, and we feel like that will be mutually beneficial. We have approximately 20 businesses or organizations that our kiddos are working with, whether to get some employment skills, learn how to clean, learn how to shop, learn how to function once they leave our school setting. We have a friendship walk in May with the Baylor Buddies. And so we're definitely reaching out into our community. We're working with Texas Workforce Solutions. They're a great partner. They've done a lot of great things with our students. And so something fun, our kiddos worked with High School Student Council, and they created Valentine Grams. And so we're doing some of the real life stuff, but we're also doing some of the fun stuff too.
Their own program,
They
how did the
don't
idea come
have
together
their own
to?
program. They're small. They have 2
Okay.
kiddos.
Okay.
But what they want to do is come and work with us, have that shared experience, be able to access some community opportunities, do some of the work program opportunities, and then learn from us. And as they grow, perhaps they could grow their own program. But at this time, they would come, they'd partner with us, they'd bring their own staff, and we would help facilitate transition with Robinson.
So they'd come to our campuses and do everything here. Okay.
Yes. It's a good opportunity.
Hurts to work harder.
It's not all fun and games in special education. We also have to take the STAR test, the same exact STAR test as general education students. So our 2021 results in reading compared to the state 2021 results compared to our 2019 results. So what you'll see is a slight dip for our SPED students in the area of reading, but we're still above the state rate. What you'll see with our former SPED students is I think we had a 1% drop from 2019 to 2021, both well above the state rate. Math, same scenario. We're seeing the same thing. We definitely saw a dip from 2019 in our 2021 results, but the trend that we see is very consistent with the information that had been provided about all students in Midway ISD. We are definitely seeing a dip, but we feel like our kids were competitive. I mean, they didn't just stop. But when you have students with disabilities, virtual learning is probably not the best opportunity. And we had some students who had sick family members. We had issues with attendance. We had issues with coming back to school and having that mental stamina to be able to do a full day of school when they hadn't in quite some time. So we're getting there. We're moving in the right direction.
Meets or approaches?
You know, I don't have that. I just took final numbers. I just took final percentages.
That's been the state comparisons have been just the approach.
Because we took it from the taper, which is what, some good news in special education, we do bill Medicaid for reimbursement, and we have generated some revenue, $1,206,000. We don't get it all at one time. Let me just tell you, it trickled in. But I did get to hold a check about, a week and a half ago, and it was over $400,000. And I was like, yay. So we are really pushing the reimbursement model. We really need our staff billing when we're providing services. And if we can bill, we want to bill. So we're encouraging that. Those monies are generated from speech therapy, personal care services, orientation and mobility services, our specialties. That's where those funds are generated from. When we look at the other areas up there for strengths, those are our report cards. That's information we get from the state. And we're doing a good job with early childhood. Midway is definitely committed to early childhood. Our numbers are positive. Our dropout rate, I can't even remember who hasn't finished, because either they graduate or they go into Empower. So we have a chain or a process to make sure kids are ready for post-graduation. Like I said, 65% of the population is in mainstream co-teach resource classes. We are definitely looking at the least restrictive environment for our kiddos. Our self-contained rate, it is low, it's good, and we really are conscientious about who needs what, and those ARD committees are making good informed decisions. We do have growth, and we're doing good things with our kiddos. Things that I would like us to work on, initiatives, I want my parent advisory committee resurrected. And I've talked to a few parents, and they're on board to do this. It's getting it going. Parents are key stakeholders, and we want their input, and we want them to feel part of this program. David has applied for the Dyslexia Grant. Because we know there's so much change happening in the area of dyslexia, we want to have funding. So one, we can have the training. If we want our teachers to be nationally board certified, let's help them get that. Are there different materials? Are there different programs? We want to be able to have the opportunity to get those things if we need those things. I've talked to some other individuals, Belton ISD, and they have an autism-centered classroom. One of the things we are seeing is the rise of autism in our district. And we just want to get in front of it, and if there are different strategies, tools, initiatives, ideas that we can do, we want to be in front of it, not behind it. So kind of collaborating with other districts on how are you working with your autism population, what's working, what's not working, and what can we do here? You know, we always want to be innovative. So we're looking at the autism grant, depending on what we need and how we can proceed. And then things we know, we have some students with significant mental health needs at the secondary level, and we want to make sure that we're addressing that. You know, we've had some students come in, we've had some students as a result of the pandemic. Mental health is taken a priority at the secondary level for us. And again, these are special education students. So it gives a student with an emotional disturbance who sat at home, who doesn't want to go back to school, and we need a little bit of help and intensive counseling and support to get them back. So there's some pretty heavy mental health concerns that we're seeing at the secondary level. There's lots of support, don't get me wrong, there's lots of support, but this would be specific to special education. Things we need to work on. Disciplinary removals at the secondary level. Again, whether it's acting out in anger, whether it's that ADHD kiddo who is impulsive, who let something slip out of their mouth accidentally, didn't mean to say something, whether it's not making good choices, we need to work on our special education disciplinary removals. And that's something we will always need to work on, because special ed kiddos tend to have deficits with self-regulation. That's some of our ADHD kiddos and some of that executive function. And so we want to make sure we have supports in place if they need some counseling, if they need to have some social stories, if they need to have somebody do a check-in, check-out. We want to be a little bit more prepared and ready for that. And so that's something we'll be working on.
Are removal numbers too high? Is that what you're concerned?
They're not too high, but they're not too low. They're at a caution. It's a caution. It's heads up, 7 up, we need to do something. But again, when kids, this year was going to be our normal year. It was not normal. This was not a normal school year, has not been a normal school year. We are supporting the best we can.
Sure.
But we need to just be a little bit more mindful to that.
that's good.
And so hopefully we'll be able to, we are working high school and middle school now. They do amazing things to support kiddos, but it is something that we will never be able to take our eye off.
Like we did with regular disciplinary actions.
So STAR progress, we want to not just get back to our 2019 results, we want to exceed those 2019 results. We want to see growth across the board. And then things that we're seeing, which is consistent in public education, is staffing. Finding, hiring, training, retaining teachers in special education. It's a challenge, it's one that we're facing, and we have to continue to work on that. And trying to come up with innovative ways to make working with special education students, make that the dream. And so we're working on it, and it's, again, but that's not unique to special education. That's across everyone and everywhere, even the construction industry. We can't get behind though, so. But mostly, again, thank you for your support. Thank you for all you do. We're trucking special education, special populations, serving kids. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Great job. Thank you so much, Lisa.
And how that impacts all areas of a child's well-being and education. And so we look at what supports we can put in place to be able to support the child and their ability to function in the classroom. And so all that's listed there. I'll give you an example really quickly. We had a student this last week, and of course I could share a million stories, but that had CPS come and meet with the student at school and threw him off for the rest of the day, which makes sense. So he was very concerned about what was going to happen. In sharing with his mentor, he said, it honestly is an answer prayer. It's something I've been praying about for a long time, that this would come to light, but also what it now means for his family. And so this matters, all of this, when students have these things going on in their personal lives, it's going to impact everything else for them in the classroom. So knowing that we have supports in place to then find out what's going on with the student, wrap them with support, and then be there to help them be functional in the classroom and be able to perform. So that's why we do what we do. This really quickly just shows you all the areas that student support services fits in. So in the shack wheel, we look at that coordinated health program. We fit in so many areas there where we bring in programs and services and community supports. And then also, if you look at performance there, where the safety and well-being in the appraisal system, we fit into that. And then in the engaged and well-rounded student. So there's many different places that we play a role within the district and with students and supports. Throughout the growth, you can see there's just kind of a timeline of the last 9 years of things that have been implemented, but the last one I just want to highlight really quickly is for this year. We took one position at the middle school, restructured it. It became 2 part-time mental and behavioral health facilitator positions, which meant we also got to keep Maslow. So he is, you see his picture, but he is at the middle school with one of our part-time positions. The 2 part-time that we have really do a lot of triage and crisis response so that they can kind of fulfill the immediate need that comes into the counselor's office. So they're there for triage support and then also ongoing check-ins with students, so they provide that. We also added a couple partnerships, so we did a MOU with the Cove, so all of our McKinney-Vento students are unaccompanied youth, homeless, have another connection in the community. We're always adding those resources that we have in partnerships in the community. We also did a partnership with NACOR, so we saw an increase in a need for our students to get some substance abuse counseling, and so we did that partnership and made that available for students and families as well. So highlights, I won't read all this to you, but just to pick out a couple of things in here. These are all just lots of numbers, but what I do like to remind everyone is that every number is a story that's tied to a child. And in those situations, multiple of our resources typically go to any one of these students. So we may have a student that needs a counseling support, but then they also might need a community support, and then they also might need our homeless resources. And so there are lots of areas where we definitely all tie together and coordinate services. But you can see the human monitoring, that's something that goes through our office. There are 3 of us that monitor the system. So emails for flag words, if there's anything about student crisis, concern, family violence, physical violence in the school, anything, and it's flagged in an email or in a student Google document, then that comes through our office, and then we send it to the campuses to say, here's an alert, would you please check on this student? And that's worked really well. It's caught lots of things. It's helped us be proactive, but it's also allowed us to find kids that need support and connect with them. We have our DAE, our transition plans for our students that either are going to discipline placement, coming back to campus, or back from any residential placement. We have the transitions, and that's where a lot of information becomes out in the open, where our staff become more aware of some things that are going on with students. So oftentimes you'll see a behavior issue erupt. You know, there's something going on in the school. Then when you do the transition plan or you're meeting with the student, that's when they may share some really big events that are taking place. And that allows us to then go, okay, now we can connect you with some more support. So those are some things. The Hunger for Free, just to highlight something really quickly, about 233 food bags go out a week to our students, and the PALS class at the high school has taken that on this year, and that's been a really great service project for them. They actually pack the bags, deliver them to the campuses every week, and then those bags go home with the students. So that's been very supportive of our campuses this year and our students. The McKinney-Vento, just some stories real quickly about these different services that are there. We had 2 students, this is really within the last probably a couple months or so, but we had two students that had a death by homicide, so lost a parent, then had the other parent that's incarcerated. So we were able to connect the family with victim services to make sure that they knew that that was an available resource, and then that gets the students into counseling for a year without the family having to have an expense. Just thinking about all the students with these stories through McKinney-Vento and other resources. We had an elementary student that was living with grandparents, lost one in September, and then lost the other one in January or February. So finding another guardian that was willing to come in and take the student. I had a student at the high school that lost a dad in the fall, I think dad in the fall, and then the aunt, so was living with the aunt, and then the aunt unexpectedly died. This was home when that happened. And so there's more and more and more of those stories, and that's why I say when we get to the end and you see the number of students that are served through student support services, every one of them has this big story that goes with it. And so I say that because I want to thank you too for always being an advocate for helping us build these services and make these things available for our students and for our families. Okay, so then the very important parent nights, our VIP nights, that's another service we provide throughout the district. This has been going really well. When we switched to doing these online, that actually boosted attendance. And so parents have really liked that as a feature to be able to go online from home. Many of them are bringing their kids in, watching it with them. And so it's really good because we can see all their faces as they're watching. This year or this semester, we've done a 4-part series, and that's gone really well too. And so we had Dr. Battle present, we had Detective Scaramouche present. So all these different things, we take things that are relevant to the whole district. So when we're listening and we hear, hey, vaping's an issue, we want to talk about social media and online safety. We take all that feedback from parents, from students, from our faculty, and we say, okay, let's, see if we can get something going for a VIP night to address that. So again, we've had really good success with these and with attendance. Communities and schools, because of all the things that we've talked about that they've done on campus at the middle school and the high school, other campuses are saying, hey, we would like this too. And so we have 2 elementary campuses that would like to add that. They're going to use Title I funds to bring communities and schools onto the campuses. And so they'll have those. You can see the many groups that are being run at the middle school right now. So social skills groups for girls and boys, tutoring, anger management, homework skills, all of those are there. And then our pregnancy-related services, Joy Fanner out at RXL and DAP is overseeing this program. You can see the numbers from 2018 to 21-22. So we've had a decrease in those students needing the pregnancy-related services, which is a great thing. But Joy stays very busy helping with all of the mental health and wellness needs of our students at Excel and DAP. And then the big picture, like I said, you can see all the numbers, but every one of these numbers is usually a pretty big story. And so it's a great blessing to be able to have all of these supports in place to be able to coordinate so well through our Claris, our communities and schools, counselors, our social workers. Everybody does such a great job of collaborating to say, hey, I want to make sure you know this about this student and what else is out there so that we can support the student and support the family. And so these are the kids that we've been able to provide lots of services to this year. That's it. Look how fast that was.
And it's, I'm aware that's fairly recent. Can you share just a little bit with how that came to be added and what that does? Because I'm not sure.
So we're required by law to have an anonymous reporting system, and we switched, I believe it was January, so January a year ago. So we've had it now a little over a year. I think at this point, I updated our numbers today and ran it and put it on here. I think it's 300 and something reports which we've had. So it is a completely anonymous reporting system. We asked the campuses at the beginning of the year to really push it out, train the kids. They've done a great job. The students have done a really good job on reporting. Sometimes it gets a little, so-and-so cut in line, please ask him not to do that. But for the most part, I've been really proud of the students. They come through. Dr. Johnson and I see all of them, and so we're able to just run through really quickly to see if we need to tag a campus or contact a campus. But other than that, the campuses get, the report specific to them. And the kids do a really good job. They report on each other to say, I'm concerned about someone. Would you please check on him? They report on themselves sometimes just to say, I really need somebody to check on me. But it's been great. I've been really impressed with the way that the kids are using it. So it did.
And does that have kind of a broader coverage of the things that they can bring to the table, or feel like it's an improvement on what we had before?
I think it's really easy for the kids to go and make a report now. The app is on every student iPad, and so it's easy for them to just click on the app and then make a report. I mean, it has a drop-down menu now where they can choose category. I mean, it's a very easy way to report. And again, it's just continue, information and education about what it's for, when to use it, and get that information out there. But they really do a good job.
Is it just for students, or can parents?
Parents can report too.
Parents can use it too.
Yep.
It has the capability that we can message back to them anonymously. Like we can message them and
The state this year required at the beginning of the year that all sixth grade students and up on their student ID on the backside that has a suicide prevention hotline. And then you could add anything else that you wanted, so local supports, whatever you wanted to put on that. And one of the stop and reports came through about 1 o'clock in the morning. And so a student reported from the middle school and said, I just wanted to say thank you so much for putting that number on my badge because it saved my life tonight. So, and it's anonymous, and that was tough because we sent back a message to say thank you so much for letting us know. We would love to connect you and get connected with some support at the school. Feel free, to come into the office and speak with one of your counselors, but we don't know who that is because it was anonymous. So. But it's been a great thing.
You and your whole team do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
For loving our kids.
Stories is just, I don't know how you do this all day. Thank you.
We love that we get to be the support. It's a blessing, so thank you.
Consideration items. We have the consent agenda. We got minutes from our regular meeting in February, special call meeting in March. Consent on the multiple representation for the Empower program, a number of early graduation requests, delegate hiring authority to George starting tomorrow, please. 2 items on canceling our election and declaring folks elected, approving our ranking on our proposals for the HVAC replacement phase 2. Mr. Tullis, you'll be abstaining, I take it? Interlocal participation agreement with TASB, our student data privacy agreement that Jesse referenced, the budget amendment, and consideration of the superintendent's goals that we needed to act on last time, which is my fault we didn't do that. Any board member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda?
Yes,
Number 8. All right. So, number 8 removed. We have a motion to approve 1 through 7 and 9 through 12 on the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Witt.
Second.
Second by Mr. Alford. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Number 8.
I just wanted to point out again that only one firm turned in a bid for that HVAC job, which happens to have stuff. Get it out there.
Very
All
good.
we received.
That's all we received.
Because of the issues with the contractors, and we're just happy at least one did, but they also had phase 1. And so when you have 2 phases, then oftentimes people see that and they knew the Capstone had already done the first part of it for us. So that might have deterred some from one.
It's a good thing.
Yep.
That was it.
Very good. So do we have a motion to approve number 8 on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Vick,
Second.
second by Ms. Watts. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 6 with 1 abstention. You bet. Consideration of personnel, we have an addendum on professional recommendations in place. As you can see, at that time of year when there are a lot of them. Anybody have any questions about any of those? And if not, do we have a motion to approve the professional recommendations?
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
I have a question. Just generally, if you could tell us sort of how things went last Saturday at the
sheets that came through on Monday from the job fair. So we had most of our campuses interviewing right after the job fair. So it was very successful.
So we feel good about where we're heading?
Yes, but we have a long way to go. This is an anomaly for sure this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But this is the most we've had in March. I counted up there 25 on this, and we normally, that's with the large. Park Hill, and the areas where the open.
Did I hear right that some districts ain't, that still has like
Throughout the current school year, they had that.
Yeah,
many
all
open.
year long. All year long. Yes. Yeah, that's right, that's right, that's where you should talk about that. You should be thankful.
Yes.
Indeed.
Y'all do a good job.
Other questions? Okay. Mr. Tuss made a motion. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Second by Andy, Dr. Popejoy, excuse me. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. We have any other personnel matters? No closed session? That's a good answer. Superintendent's Communications Board Workshop.
I'm between us concluding the meeting. I'll be brief. Upcoming board workshop is just to say about, we initially thought we would have our workshop session on TASB and the work they had done with their market analysis of salaries. And remember, our first report was about positions that we gave to you in position control in February, but we will have that ready in April. And it also, though, it's a good time, we'll have Mr. Brooks kicking off the budget process for 22-23, and that information is vital when your budget is over 80% personnel. So a big chunk of it will be certainly for a lot to look at and chew on, recommendations that TASB will have in that area. But it's so far it is very insightful, but I think it's going to be very helpful to us as we stay in the market, stay in the game, to do what we're doing, as mentioned, with hiring and able to offer positions and staff our schools in this very competitive market that we are in. Just real quick, you might have noticed, I know it was mentioned, I think Pete brought up about the legislators are not in session. However, they're studying things with different committees. They're also looking at, because some had retired and not come back, started making appointments to the big committees. And of course, one of those is public education, combining public ed and higher ed, calling it, I think, education with the two subcommittees. I did see, which might, for our advocacy, Ryan Birdwell is moving into the general public education committee. He had worked in some higher education areas. So as a board, as a community, again, he's serving on the committee is important, and for us, again, to advocate and talk about our story and see where that goes. But will have more, I guess, influence in public education than he's had for. But he is our state senator. And then finally, I will say that, I know it was long, but what you heard tonight about the reports is, again, maybe a couple were added because of last month's agenda, but it's really this cyclical annual way to look at important aspects. But one of the things to also think about it is our goal, my goal in the development of the community-based system, community-based. Many of these reports and information you saw is what we're talking about. Remember, they were called pillars, or called areas that we're focusing on, but when you're looking at readiness, you're talking about even Dr. Knutsen's report, but you're also talking about readiness of students for life, as Ms. Cochran talked about. It includes special education students, and so a lot of that information is what we're wanting to do and incorporate. Ms. Zeller's report, there's a big one on that for student well-being, and this is why it's so critical. We have that department, but now we'll have a way beyond a board meeting, hopefully, to share what we're doing and to show the community how we are meeting the needs with stats that she has, as well as other stories. Saw this first, how Ms. Marlin in Communications Department won awards, and that's how we're going to get this out. They're very creative and be able to, for better word, publicize and this particular type of report with the staff that we have with Robert Pryor. We're talking about using videos. It's popular with some of these stories, as Ms. Sellers talked about, and Ms. Cox talked about, Ashley talked about in her report, in order to do that. But we have to have operations, and not to slight Mr. Brooks or Mr. Garn. That's another pillar of efficiencies when we're looking at workers, looking at budgets, looking at things too. So all of that is going to fit, and we've had it, but we now have a way, I feel like, that we can be able to meet our goal as well as meet the community needs and have it where they see other evidence of results of the district besides just the one test on one day that's called the STAR. So we're really excited about that opportunity, share the good things in Midway ISD. So thank y'all for being patient and listening through those and asking very good questions in these particular areas, and I appreciate the work of the staff. It's hard to believe we're in March. I think I saw a newsletter. We're the last 9 weeks now of school. We're in the last three weeks of this 6 weeks, and Smith sent out all the wonderful emails about prom coming up and about selling tickets and graduation fees and everything. It's hard to believe. Here we are. And finally, I will state this about bond and construction. We are planning, as you know, we have not, because of bad weather, having to alter our calendar whatsoever, because we're under really minutes of instruction instead of really days. And so there's 75,600 minutes, and able to meet those requirements. Still, they were, because of the length of our school day has helped, and so we still have a surplus, and we're looking at Friday, May the 20th, is calling an early date, adding that, and releasing so that we have a day to do twofold. Celebrate the fact we're at the end of the year with our teachers and staffs, because also to allow them to meet again with principals. They haven't been able to go to their campus sites necessarily, like Dr. Johnson hasn't had a meeting with the Park Hill people as initial meetings, hey, you're coming to campus, but a way to do that to celebrate, you know, their appointment to the schools, same as the two middle schools, River Valley and Midway Middle School, but also use it as a day, just an afternoon, not a full day, just an afternoon. Talk about all these transitions, because we have a lot of logistics to get through with teachers that are moving, what that looks like, their boxing, color coding, where they're going, and even at the high school, hopefully most of the ability to move in some to the CTE, moving over, because we have major renovation fast in the summer. Our final step of the CTE is actually remodeling current classrooms in the high school, so all of that. So it's just a couple of hours in the afternoon of that Friday, but I think it'll be well spent to get everyone before they get out, before they leave the district. And then, of course, we'll have all those steps in place for when they do come back, I think as mentioned, 1st of August, and being able to have our traditional staff development PD, as well as opening of the school. So we're fortunate that we have those excess minutes, and Dr. Gima will continue to watch that, make sure we don't drop below, but we're good, and be able to ask our parents and put that out as an early release day. But it's on Friday, May the 20th, and we have just 1 week of school. We go through Thursday of that week. Friday then would be our graduation night, right? Panther Stadium. 8 o'clock.
It will not rain.
Hey, we're in a drought, but the luck we've had, we'll probably get the deluge. But do what?
It always catches up.
It always catches up sometime.
We average 34 inches a year.
But our families and kids, they love it now outside, and all that we've done. It's so kind of now hard. Go back.
The old school graduations were like that.
Hard to
You know, I
picture.
think that's a good idea, get the team spirit back up again for the new schools. And
And I'm in
Yeah,
a heavy lift this
excited.
year, so we just need that afternoon as a staff development day.
Open house thing for parents, students transitioning to new campuses.
As soon
all
as we
that,
can
right?
have that
As soon as we can-
CO, certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
Right. As soon as we can do that, oh yeah, they're working on that.
Very good.
We're excited to do that.
I understand some of the campuses are Chapel Park Hill are working on helping their PTAs. I mean, just all kinds of prep going on behind the scenes.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And great team. Getting us where we are has been certainly a year.
Provisions upon provisions.
Yeah, as Mr. Carr said. We're good. We're gonna make it.
Anything else? Let me just say, without regard to Wesley and Buddy, and there's a pretty much monthly, right? I very much appreciate the opportunity to hear from the folks on the other reports. It's great information to have as a board member, and thank y'all. I know you spent time getting ready for it, and well done. So, that said, we're out of agenda items. We're adjourned.
Hey, look, this is where you take minutes.